All right, what's up, Tycoon? Super excited for today's video. We are going to be taking a look at ticker symbol PROSY. This is PROSUS. Now, this video is a viewer request. So if you have any tickers that you would like me to analyze for you, give you a little bit of some of my technical analysis on, please let me know in the comment section below, and I'll be happy to do it as soon as I can, okay? Make a video on it for you. I do viewer requests every single week. And with that being said, let's go ahead and jump right into it, okay? So first things first, um, it's no secret the market has been super bearish, ever since November, right? And this one, had a nice bearish pattern here that followed the technicals pretty well, known as a head and shoulders. Okay, here's our head up here, here's our left shoulder, here's our right shoulder, and we came all the way down and hit the target. Okay, and so that's first things first. This was, something that you could have been able to spot and you could have been able to, potentially short this right now. That move is over. But, that's kind of how we got brought back down to these levels around 10:15. Right. Now, something important that I'm going to show you guys here is what we did was we retested these old levels. Okay, so if we look right here, this is our low. This was our previous lowest low on the stock. This was our bottom. All right, so that's why I have this price level here. And then eventually we did end up falling a little bit more below it, but we'll zoom into the daily chart now, because originally we were looking here on the 3-year weekly chart. All right, and I'll pull this back up. One thing I do want to show you guys is that volume is increasing. All right, which is a good sign. This is what you want to see. All right, there was massive sell volume here. And now, of course, this line right here is our volume average. All right, so once you see volume trading above the volume average, then obviously that would mean that volume is picking up. Okay, that's something that we're going to want to continue to see, but we're going to want to see green candles now, like we're seeing. We're going to need some buying pressure, and we're going to want to see more, the volume keep increasing, but on the buying side rather than the selling side. Okay, so let's go ahead and zoom into the daily chart now, as I was just mentioning. And um, you know we'll zoom in here, draw this a little bit lower for you guys so you can see. And you may be wondering, what are all of these boxes here? All right. These boxes are known as daily gaps. All right. They are gaps on the daily chart. All right. So if we zoom in a little bit more, you guys can see, there is a gap from from this candle to that candle. There's a gap, right? If we pull up a little bit more, there's a gap from this candle to this candle, a gap from this candle to this candle. These gaps tend to fill in the stock market 90 to 95% of the time. So it's very important you chart them up. And I like to just might make a nice blue box there, so that way I'm aware and I can easily visually see it, right? That's something that's really going to help you guys out a lot. Now, the key thing to remember is that these gaps don't have to fill right away. All right. Just because they fill historically 90 to 95% of the time does not mean they fill quickly. All right. It could take years, it could take months, it could take weeks for these gaps to fill. Nobody can predict the future, but what you can do is you can position yourself accordingly to be prepared, right? You can either look at it as a short-term catalyst, right? Because we know that, all right, well, there's a pretty big gap down, so I can pay attention to this, because right now we're facing this resistance level at 1198, and we've got resistance 2 times right there. And if we're not able to get above 1198, I can look out and potentially short it and see if we come back down to 1015, even possibly all the way down to 950, where the gap is on PROSY. All right. But what I like about it, and we'll go ahead and we'll go ahead and take a look at the company's website real quick, just so you guys can get a little bit of info on them. I do like this ticker a lot. I think the company is pretty set up fundamentally. Um, Business wise, definitely do some of your own research before investing in anything. This is not financial advice, but let's go ahead and dive into what it is, right? It's a global consumer internet group and one of the largest technology investors in the world. Operating and investing globally in markets with long-term growth potential, PROSUS builds leading consumer internet companies that empower people and enrich communities. It's focused on building meaningful businesses in the online classifieds, food delivery, payment and fintech, and education technology sectors, including India, Russia, and Brazil. Right. Through its ventures team, PROSUS invests in areas including health, logistics, blockchain, and social commerce. These are some of the most important sectors there are right now currently. I mean, health, right? Biopharmaceutical plays. That's kind of like a hot sector in the stock market right now. At the time of this recording, it has been, over the past month, it's been getting some nice things. Logistics, okay, everybody knows about the supply chain crisis. It's a global crisis right now. Blockchain, really interesting. Okay, this is cryptocurrency essentially, and a lot of people misunderstand, but cryptocurrency is essentially just blockchain, which is essentially just software, right? So, gone is the days of Microsoft being the hottest, newest, software company for you to invest in long term, right? Everybody says, oh, if you were to buy Apple 20 years ago or Microsoft 20 years ago, you'd be loaded. That's what blockchain is. It's the next upgrade of software, and then social commerce is the last thing that their area that they're investing in. All right. Every day billions of customers use the products and services of companies that PROSUS has invested in, acquired, or built, and it goes on to list them. Now, one thing that I do want to highlight here is they are investing in sectors that include India, Russia, and Brazil. And there's a war going on. There's a war crisis going on currently between Russia and Ukraine. So this is going to affect them, right? Obviously, that would affect them. So here's their official statement on Ukraine. They're appalled by the war, highly concerned for everyone affected. All right, they have 350 people employed in Ukraine, and their safety is really important. And they're sending $1,000 to every Ukraine employee they have, and they also have more than 4,000 employees in Russia working with their locally run Russian classified businesses, right? A veto supporting all of his team through this uncertain time. So it's nice to see them giving a little support to their Ukrainian employees. And then also there's some more things. Okay, the directors resigned from VK board, and essentially VK board is that's their stake. All right, that's their Russian group. That's their Russian investment group, and they just wrote off a $700 million stake in Russian's VK group. All right. They wrote off their entire 25.9% stake in the Moscow headquartered online platform VK Group, right? The company has a depository receipt listing on the London Stock Exchange and is registered in Cyprus with headquarters in Moscow. All right, it comes after the CEO was added to a U.S. sanctions list after Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Right, there's been a lot of sanctions going on. And then, trading in the company's London shares were suspended on March 3rd after tumbling 92% of this year. And as a consequence of these actions, PROSUS asked its directors on the VK board to resign their positions, right? So essentially, they just liquidated those positions. And there was as I just went over, there was a lot of international sanctions. All right, so they basically have their skin out of the game now, so they are not really involved as much overseas when it comes to Ukraine and Russia like that. All right, so just wanted to give that quick update real quick and let you know a little bit about the company. We'll go back and we'll take a look back at the daily chart or the 4-hour chart to do good here. Okay, so we know about our daily gaps, all of these blue boxes. First things first, I want to show you guys from the current price level that we're at all the way up to the gap up at $20. That's the highest gap up. That's a 67.5% return on your investment. So if you are comfortable in investing in this long term, meaning more than a year or 5 to 10 years, right? If you have some money you would like to put to the side, then you can look for it to fill this gap up to 20 over the next coming years. And yeah, it may fill that gap sooner, but right now, okay, well, if I park some money into this, I have a chance, an opportunity to earn 67.5% on my investment once the final gap up to 20 fills on PROSY, right? So I do like the company. And again, we'll zoom in a little bit more so you can kind of see some of these price levels and some of the price action going on. Like I said, this is our major resistance level right now that we're facing is 1198. We closed just under it. Okay, if you look, we closed at 1197 on Friday. It's currently the weekend. Now, one thing that I do like, all right, and it's not fully formed yet, but it is working on the formation, right? Earlier in the very beginning of the video, we took a look at the head and shoulders pattern, right? Well, right now we potentially have a inverse head and shoulders forming. All right, so this would be our left shoulder, and if we come down, this will be our head, and we rallied up here. But if we pull back and we pull back down to this support level around 1015 or somewhere near that, and then recover, boom, what does that look like? And the inverse head and shoulders, which is a bullish pattern. So we know there's this gap down. We know we have to prepare for it mentally and financially. Maybe use a stop loss, or maybe just don't invest all 100% of your position size into this right now, because there is a gap down to be cautious of that historically fills 90 to 95% of the time. Now the thing is we have to pay attention to momentum. All right, there's been a bearish market, and if there's some more negative news catalysts or things like that, that's what could bring it down to come down to these levels. But we have so many gaps up to fill, that if the momentum continues, we may just fill these gaps up, and we might not fill this gap down until there's a next bear market cycle. All right, because there's been a lot of FUD globally, and in the US stock market. But is this, if I personally think that we kind of hit like peak fear, uncertainty, and doubt in the month of March. There's still a week or two left in March, so we could see some things pull back. But overall, I think that we may have bottomed here at 905, and it's going to be really interesting to see if we can keep this bullish momentum up. Because if we look here from our lows from the 905 up to where we closed recently, that's a 32% gain, just in a few days. All right. So really good stuff to see here on PROSY. It's nice to see it recovering. And some of the social sentiment that they have towards the Russia-Ukraine thing is very nice to see them supporting their Ukrainian employees. And they pulled all their money out of the Russian VK board, just because of the sanctions being imposed on Russia, right? So they withdrew $700 million from there, and it's going to be interesting to see what they are able to do with that cash, if they're able to find some new assets to invest in, or if they're just going to use it to invest in some more of their high conviction opportunities, right? So once again, thank you guys for watching this video. It was a viewer request, so if you do have any viewer requests, let me know in the comment section below, and don't forget to like and subscribe.